social thing that you have to vote on people that helped you. I think it's interesting that you have that. I think probably will help people that are like me, like on the borderline side, but probably will not help people. What I see is that a lot of people were very, very not engaging with anyone, just doing their coding stuff and getting away, and they passed because they had good grades. So it makes you wonder if they really want the balance of community or not. I think there has to be a certain standard that they might be looking for, and that's it. That's the real thing. I didn't pass, and that's fine. I'm totally fine with it, and I'm really grateful that I managed to do this experience and carry on until the end. So what are my lessons learned from this situation? I think for me it's kind of being persistent and kind of disciplined, even when you see that you're not the strongest in the group. I think there was a group of us, majority of us that didn't pass, that were there, tried their best. We knew that we were the weakest at the group, that persisted, because majority of people just quit, right? But we stayed until the end, we did our best, we tried until the end. And I think for me, that really values a lot, and I value a lot those people that did that are still in my mind, because we tried our best. And I think I was not used to having this situation and this feeling of being one of the weakest in the group. I've always been kind of average, so it was quite interesting to see how would I behave in places where I was not the most stronger person in the group. But actually it was kind of a way of thinking, okay, how do I feel when I'm like that? And how can I use that in my favor to learn with others and to push myself forward and be resilient. The thing I think I'm really proud of is that I've continued on the third week. Past the third week, even though I knew from the statistics that we've seen that the likelihood of me succeeding and passing and being selected to the court would be very low. I understood from the second week that I just needed more time. I'm that type of person that it's much stronger at the long-term memory than short-term memory. I really need long-term memory, and once I have the long-term memory, and I'm very good at what I do, but if you're putting me in situations where I have to learn very fast, I just don't succeed as well. It's just because the way I learn is a little bit different, and there are some people that are more long-term memory than short-term memory. And if you are one of those people that have some neurodiversity in the way of learning, perhaps just consider thinking about other strategies so you don't have the same outcome as I did. I think you have to ask for help. I think you have to ask for help as well. I think high achievers tend to try and figure out everything by themselves, spend a lot of time. I think in some exercises I spent like 1 hour trying to figure out by myself, learning online, see if I could find the kind of the way that the rationale for things, and I just wasted a lot of time most of the times. And I think if it was today, I'd probably be 15 minutes, I can't understand, ask for others. They really didn't encourage you to do ChatGPT. I actually, on my daily basis, I use ChatGPT a lot to ask questions, because I feel like you can learn much faster and understand the rationale if you ask the right questions. But there, they really incentivize you not to use it. I think that was a mistake. I think if it was today, because there is no theoretical background and because they are so poor at theoretical knowledge and you just have to figure out by yourself, I just felt that if I had used ChatGPT like many other people, I could understand the rationale faster, and I probably could have learned much faster without having to get stuck in some areas. The other thing I've learned is kind of breaking down problems. So one thing I found was that it's different to understand the logic of programming and the exercise and the logic. One thing is trying to write it down and build up the solution to the problem by yourself, construct the solution. What I found is that, for example, they don't teach you this, right? So how do you learn how to program? And what I found is that breaking problems into small problems, so within the problem you have a problem, and now you have to think about the problem in very tiny little problems, right? And you have to kind of break it down. Then once you do that, you write the pseudo code for each section, and then once you have that breakdown, you can transfer it and learn it from it. I had to write down in paper a lot. I wrote in Windows, I wrote in many other places. I was just big fan of writing. Then the other thing I've learned is that I kind of accept failure very well. I think over my 20s, I always had a lot of successes. Like, I didn't really fail a lot. And now that I'm starting to try to apply for more complex things, I'm realizing that, oh my God, I'm failing a lot and trying different things. And I think that's a part of the process. So I think if you come here and you fail, I wouldn't say feel upset or sad. I think just use that and reevaluate and rethink of strategies to improve, or reflect if that was even for you, or was it the outcome that you wanted. So I would say just accept failure and try and fail as many times as you can, because that's meaning that you're trying different things, you're trying different approaches. But the way I use failure is a way to, okay, how now stop and think, and how can I redirect my approach and my strategy for the things that I want to achieve. And think about alternatives. For example, in London, there's so many opportunities. And there's so many opportunities to achieve the same goal. So I would just say, yes, failure, but accept it and move on. And rethink of your strategy. Do you want to repeat? Do you not want to repeat? This was not for me. You have to think. And then what I also learned is that I really like to work. I also learned that I like a lot the theoretical part and the kind of critical thinking that you do in universities. I like the structure, and that's what I like about Coursera. So you have the principles and the basic principles, and then you use those basic principles to understand what you're doing. And I love that. And I think the School 42 is kind of, take this exercise and figure out. I think this way is much better. You already know the structure of things, so you can concentrate on other things that are more interesting faster. So for me, I actually miss that critical thinking, the structure, the knowledge that you can get from universities. I think, for example, if 42 had some PDFs with common things or basic things, that would help as well. But what I found is that they had some videos, but they were very kind of practical, not really explaining the different functions of a function. For me, it was not really helpful. So I would say that I missed that part. So obviously, if I didn't get in, I would probably do things differently. I think for me, if I knew what I know today, I probably would not do the piscine straight away. They say that the piscine is for beginners. Well, I think it's for beginners if you are a fast learner, if you rely a lot on your short-term memory. I mean, they say that you can't memorize, but you need some kind of memory to memorize the structure and the process and the logic, right, that you have to follow. I would say for me, I would probably not do it straight away. I would probably wait, at least have 1 year of experience of coding with C every day. Probably do some prep courses online, like Coursera has the principles of C, and probably do a logic course, which I'm currently doing Coursera, just to understand better the processing and the understanding of how logic works. Because I think mathematic thinking and programming is a lot about logic and logic processes. So if I understand logic better, I would probably be able to program better if it's my desire. Now you'll be thinking, so what's your future plans? Have you thought about what you're gonna do now? Well, I think, I always have nursing on the side, and nursing is always there to kind of pay the bills. But I think London has a lot of opportunities. So for me, I'm just gonna explore opportunities that are out there. You have, for example, if you're a girl, you have Code for Girls. You have to think about what you want. Do you want to learn C from scratch and take a long-term approach to coding and study at 42? Or do you want to do those fast-paced coding bootcamps like full stack and data science? But obviously it's not a full-time course, it's like 12 weeks. so you're not going to learn a lot. You just learn the principles. Or do you actually want to do a programming course? Or an apprenticeship? There's lots of apprenticeships, so you can actually earn a degree while you get paid. For example, Amazon has that. You can get 35K and do the degree. So I think the likelihood of me applying to 42, at least London again, will probably be low. I'd have to wait another year. Also because the school is still in the beginning, and I think there is other 42 schools now that are well established, well embedded, already built a community, and probably, I think if I do that, I would probably find a place that I would live in and I'll try it there. Also, I was not convinced that starting from scratch to learn C to do what I want to do is the best approach for me. If I wanted to be a software developer, like a hardcore software developer, great. If I don't want to be that, if I just want to understand the kind of core principles and the general principles around technology, then is that really necessary? Probably not. I think there is a discussion, if you're a software development, please comment on the comments below. I think there is a lot of discussion online about this. And then, self-study. I really will carry on with self-study. I think the Coursera courses really work for me. Yes, I don't have the community, but I just have to swallow that part that I missed and carry on with Coursera courses. So my focus would be on data science, modeling, and artificial intelligence, just because I think I could bring much more, bridging my nursing skills and my public health skills than just doing software developer. I think for that it will be kind of a project-based approach to my minimal viable product, so I'll just do it as I go and learn as I go. What's my advice to you? I think if you're like new like me, make sure that you don't work while you do the machine. Many people did that mistake, and that's just impossible. I think also submit your modules as soon as possible. A lot of people would finish the modules and not put it to evaluation. I think because they were maybe afraid of being judged or failing. I don't know. So I would say just once you finish the module, put it for evaluation, evaluate the others, because you learn a lot on that process. And I love evaluating others because I always learn more, and I would understand to see whether I understood what I was talking about or not. So actually it was pretty fun. And I would say, even if you see that you're not getting anywhere and your results are not as great, try as much as you can. Even if you feel like me that the likelihood of you getting selected to the main core is very difficult, just try it until the end anyway, because you'll look back and you'll think, okay, I've done my best, I've done as much as I could, I've engaged with people, I really enjoyed the program, and that's about it. And that's my approach to things. I really enjoyed it, and I look back and I can say, okay, I didn't do like 60 other people that just quit. I did my best until the end, and the outcome was probably what I was expecting already, but I had fun with it and I've learned so much. The other thing is, a lot of people found it really hard to deal with failure and to fail. For me, that was fine. I mean, obviously, it gets hit on you if you see that on the third week you're probably gonna fail. You're probably not gonna pass to the core. And how do you deal with that? I think for me is I've been learning how to fail, and I want to fail as fast, as quickly as possible, because that means that I'm trying new things, and one day it will work out. One day my approach will work out. I'll get better and better every day. So, but I know a lot of people that got really upset that they failed and they couldn't accept it. They just left. They didn't engage with their colleagues, and I understand that people are different, but I think it's much better just accept it, move on, engage with your colleagues, and if that's your wish, try again. If not, try and find out other ways of doing things that you want to do. So my other advice to you is meet people. I think it's try and meet your colleagues, try and get to know them, because you never know, they might be the co-founders that gonna co-found with you some companies. Really use and exploit the opportunity to learn about others, to make connections, to network. I've learned a lot. We had people from cleaners to venture capitalists, doctors, nurses, developers. We had a lot of experience out there, and I did exploit as much as I could to try and learn about them, to ask questions that I had in my mind, to network, and to also support my colleagues. Some people were really struggling. For example, I had a colleague that went there and suddenly didn't show up for 2 to 3 days. So I had to really sit down with him and support him through that process, because some people don't really deal well with that. And then my advice is, whether you're considering 42 or other schools, I would say that really depends on you. I would just say that 42 London is quite new, so you can understand a little bit more. There's still not anyone doing the core. The core will only start supposedly after November, or in November or October. So if you want a school that is already well established, perhaps choose a different school that is already well established, that already has the connections. If you want to build the school and be a part of that building process, then go to 42 London. But just think about that you'll have, if you get into the machine and you want to do the core, and if you get into the core, you'll have to do everything on a single place except the specialization. So make sure that you make your choices based on this. If you're thinking about, should I do 42 bootcamp if I get into the bootcamp, or should I just do another bootcamp? I would say if you want to learn the hard core of C, come to 42 school. And if you want to really just do this, but be aware that if you get into the core, you might get between 8 months to 2 to 3 years to just finish the core. Then you have to do another internship, then you do the specialization, then you do another internship. But you can finish, and you have to commit up to 25, at least 25, and you have to commit 25 hours a week, at least. If you really want just to test the waters and don't really much commitment and have a full hands approach to something practical already, like let's say make a website, even if it's very basic, I would choose probably a bootcamp like a full stack developer bootcamp that teaches straight away JavaScript and many other languages that you can already kind of do a practical approach to website. If you think about going to 42 to start building websites straight away, or doing machine learning, you're not going to do that. You're going to go and do basic, quite difficult exercises in C, and that's really it. So, and then maybe let's say you're thinking, should I do an apprenticeship, or should I go to 42? I would say you have to really think hard. If it's really important for you to have the paper saying, yeah, I have a degree in computer science, then, and I need money as I go along, maybe try and see if you can get yourself into an apprenticeship, especially in big companies such as Amazon, because the starting salary is quite good. It's 35k while you learn, and you get experience in established places. Or if you have the money, you have a way to sustain yourself for 2 years, you're very disciplined, you work and you learn very fast, and you learn well by yourself, then probably I'll choose 42. And but that depends on you, depends on the way you study, or do you go to university. I think if you want the community, if you want the degree and the certificate, if you have the money to spend, if you want the theoretical and the critical part of studying, then I would probably choose university. So it really depends how you want to learn and what's your outcome. What do you want to get out of this? Do you really want to be a software developer, or do you want just to test the waters and see if you like it? So that's what I wanted to tell you a little bit more about my experience, and I hope you found it helpful for you if you're thinking about going to 42, if you're thinking about going to the machine. And I really want to emphasize the value of every learning experience, even if it leads to success or not. I think, I learned so much, and those things that I've learned already were very useful to transfer in things that I'm currently doing for other projects. So I would say, and just give it a try. You don't have anything to lose, probably just a month of your life. But just give it a try and have fun, and just enjoy yourself. And I hope the tips and tricks that I've done was useful, and I hope that to share that I was not one of the selected, really helped those that really had probably the same outcome as I did, which is quite a lot of people. So because I couldn't find anything online, and I thought maybe perhaps I could also share the experience of not getting into the school for the core program, and I just wanted to highlight that to people that had passed through the same experience, didn't get in, and the way I deal with it, basically. And so I'll see you in the next video. I hope you enjoyed it and found it useful, and stay curious and keep learning.